On this episode of Locked On Lightning, it's coming down to the wire in Tampa. Cooch is shining, and is vintage Vazzy back? We break it all down on this show. Coming up to you on Locked On Lightning.
You're Locked On Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another episode of Locked On Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Adam Danker. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Locked On Lightning. On this episode, we're breaking it down. We're currently coming to you, we're currently recording. This episode is going to be dropping Friday morning, but we're currently recording with a little under 7 minutes left in the third period here at Amalie. The Lightning are up 4-3. What a phenomenal night. I mean, this is everything that we would have hoped that this game would have been. I said on the, and I like to, I'll get into my patting myself on the back in just a bit. We'll be breaking down the game thus far, or our thoughts on the game as it also continues in live time. Here we are. And then we're talking about the Kucherov Mackinnon matchup tonight. Did it live up to expectations, as well as wrapping things up with vintage Vasi Vezina winning Vazzy? Is that guy back? We're going to break it down at the end of the show. But before we get into all that, please go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. Give us a follow wherever podcasts are distributed in audio form. We're also available on YouTube. So go ahead, subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment below this video, as well as hit the thumbs up button. Help us grow. Help us reach more people. And you can only do that by hitting that thumbs up. So, like I said, we are now 6.5 minutes left in the third period. The Lightning are up 4-3. And we talked about it. We hinted at it on the crossover episode with the guys from Locked On Avalanche. And wow, I mean, this league really, really missed the ball. Or ESPN, I don't know really who's in charge of how that stuff works, but whoever it is, somebody forgot that the potentially two good teams with superstars were going to be playing each other, and now we don't have any games on ESPN tonight, I don't believe, but I'm sure they'll be kicking themselves after tonight, because really, I mean, this should have been a game that should have been on national television on ABC or whatever, one of TNT or one of those channels. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the schedule tonight. Really not any games that jump off the page to me. I mean, Flyers, Leafs, that maybe would have been a good one. So it looks like the Hulu game or the ESPN Plus game would have been right now. It looks as though I don't know if that means it's on ESPN. It's Stars Preds, which, I mean, if you're a Western Conference fan, that looks awesome, I guess, on paper. But, I mean, this game has been incredible. I mean, on both sides. Everything that you could have imagined from a game of these two high-caliber teams. I mean, not even getting into the fantastic jerseys that the Lightning have been wearing tonight, which I really want these to be their normal home jerseys, or I guess, I mean, they are the third jersey, so I'm sure they'll get some love on the road as well as at home. But the all black with the matted helmet, I mean, whoever designed that, congratulations. I think you probably hit that, and I'm not even being biased. I really think that was a great, you can't go wrong with black when it comes to uniforms, and they did a phenomenal job with that. But this game has been incredible. I mean, you got Bo Byram, the young defenseman, who really is kind of like, I wouldn't say he's in the same class, but he's kind of like the Pippen to Makar's Jordan when it comes to pairing up with each other on the defense, even though they aren't really on the same line. But you get goals from him tonight, which you'd love to see from a young guy like that. Colton gets an assist in his return back to Tampa, which, It sucks. I completely forgot he was on the Avalanche. I guess it was one of those things where at the time when he got traded, I was so pissed off about it. I just blocked that whole memory that it actually was the Avalanche. And then on the other side of that, of course, you get goals from Point. He gets his 26th of the year. Kuch, 35 and 36 tonight in the goal department. Hagel's assisting on one of those. You got Stamkos scoring a goal, a late goal to give the Lightning the lead. The lead changes twice, in 3 times, I guess, if you're counting the ties in the third period. So just a phenomenal back and forth game. Everything that you would have imagined from these two teams that are playing. The Avalanche not so much on the road are playing well, but still playing tough nonetheless. And really, like I said, I think the league really missed the ball on this. But, I mean, what a phenomenal game from the Lightning tonight thus far. I mean, like I said, we have a little over 6 minutes left in this period. So there's still a lot that could happen at this point. But it seems as though the Lightning are, after especially the Kuch goal, are starting to tip the ice in their favor if it hasn't already gone to that point. And really, the story of the game has been shots on goal. The Lightning have done a phenomenal job of really just making that goaltender who, if you follow me on Twitter, I put up the McGregor GIF when they said his name or on the broadcast. I put up the GIF of McGregor saying, "Who the F is that guy?" And that's really what I said. I mean, I don't know who this guy was. And Chris and Kyle were, I thought they were a little bit over dramatic at first, but boy, they were right. They got a really big time goaltending issue there in Colorado. And, I was talking about it yesterday about, Calgary. They're looking to shop Markstrom, and, that might be a destination. Who knows? I don't know how Calgary might feel about trading to somebody in their own conference. But the Lightning are really doing a good job, like I said, of just being aggressive. They just keep going at this guy. And they came out to play from the get-go. And that's really what you want to see out of your team, especially in a matchup such as this under the bright lights, because, even though this game isn't on national television, I'm sure a lot of people, especially now with games like this being more accessible because of Hulu, ESPN Plus, a lot of people probably are watching this game right now. So, the Lightning and Avalanche are putting on a great show. And the other thing that the Lightning really impressed me with tonight was their puck possession. And if you listen to the crossover with me and the guys from Locked On Avalanche, that was something that I really, and I really emphasize that really on a game-to-game basis when it comes down to it, because that's really the Lightning's bread and butter is face-offs and puck dominance, and then everything else will fall in place. And as long as they don't turn over pucks, and they did a good job of holding onto the puck tonight, while taking away the puck relatively well, and blocking shots. And they their faceoff percentage tonight was 55.4% at the line, which I feel like at this point in time, going up against a team like this where the Avalanche aren't exactly one of the better teams in faceoffs, and you match that up against the Lightning, who are one of the better teams in the league in the faceoff circle, it's kind of almost expected at this point for that to be such a lopsided category. Radish is currently getting up slow after getting, I don't know, I wasn't paying attention. I don't know if he fell. I don't know if he hit. If he hit the board, he's shaking his head. That's not good, because that could potentially be a concussion, and that's not going to bode well for the Lightning if they lose him. But he's getting up, skating up under his own power. But yeah, it looks like, we got hit with the puck when they were trying to push it back down into the zone. Oof, he's on the ice. He's on the bench. He might go into the tunnel. We'll see. No, it doesn't look like it. It looks like he's staying on the bench. But getting back to it, the face-off percentage, the shots on goal, coupled with the puck dominance, I mean, that's really the 1, 2, 3 punch for the Tampa Bay Lightning these days, and that's something that I've spoken about for a while now, pretty much all season long. If the Lightning could do 2 out of the 3 of those things, they will have a very good chance, especially the puck possession. If they could do that, they'll be able to give themselves a very good chance at winning games. And on top of that, I think Vasilevskiy's played very well. I think we'll get more into that at the end of the show as we talk about, his performance as of late, especially to start the new year. But Vasilevskiy, what I really like from him is, when we evaluate him, and we've evaluated him recently, I think it was about a week or so ago. I talk about his numbers kind of, as almost it's a double-edged sword in a way, because save percentage might look good on paper, goals against average might look good on paper. Obviously win-loss, that's a little bit construed because of he missed two months. So, it's a little bit, it doesn't measure up, or it doesn't add up, obviously, up to where the Lightning are in the season. But the thing that I really look at him, as well as I think we should look at all goaltenders, is that he just the confidence there. Not only that he's making saves, and it's how he's making saves and how he's gearing himself up to make a save, and is he pushing himself across the crease with confidence? Is he, or is he just aimlessly flailing at shots, hoping something hits him? And no, you see a lot of what we saw from him prior to last year. A lot of confident saves, those games where it looked like he just could do no wrong. And I spoke about it too. Also, like, we're going to have to measure our expectations just with him, because really what it comes down to with Vasilevskiy, I mean, the league has gotten so much better. I mean, you're going to start to see, and I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I'm sure if we looked at the shutout numbers across the league as opposed to past seasons, I would have to imagine it's probably has gone down significantly in years past. It's just because the scoring across the league has gotten so much better, and really, the new norm, or a great game for a guy like Vasilevskiy, is going to be only giving up maybe 2 to 3 goals. That's just, it's not a reflection on him losing any talent, but that's just the way it is. The guy in Vegas, Hill, I mean, he's phenomenal. Also, I don't think he plays as often as Vazzy does. I mean, he might play a little bit more than maybe the guy that's backing him up, but I know that they do have a 2-goal system there in Vegas. So great game thus far. Hopefully the Lightning could hold on to the lead. The Avalanche already pulled their goalie, so I would imagine, hopefully, unless they continue to ice the puck, that they could pick up an empty netter here and kind of seal it away. So coming up in just a little bit, we'll be talking about McKinnon versus Kucherov Part 2 in Amalie, coming up in just a bit. But first, I want to talk about one of our sponsors on today's show, and that is our friends over at eBay Motors. Now, passion, drive, and patience is what brings home the winning trophy. Is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy for you to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. So as always, I want to thank you all for making us your first listen of the day. If you haven't already done so, please go ahead and subscribe to the podcast on our YouTube channel. Go ahead and follow us on whatever audio-based app you choose to listen to us on. We're available anywhere. And go ahead to our YouTube page. Join in on the conversation below this video. What a phenomenal night of hockey. Just a great night for the game of hockey. I mean, I'm going to continue to say it, but the league really missed the dropped the ball on this one, and it's just, I don't know why I couldn't think that TNT was the other outlet that covers hockey games. But I mean, you got two high caliber teams on paper, and I mean, like I said, it looks like the ESPN Plus game of the night. I don't know if maybe that's just like a free game. I'm not entirely familiar with that. I should, though, because I am watching this game on ESPN Plus. But I guess the high end, we have the icing on the cake, an empty netter for the Lightning. It looks like it was Sorelli, so the Lightning will pick up a 5-3 win at home, extending their home win streak here at Amalie, against an Avalanche team that has been struggling on the road as of late. But the league, yeah, I mean, this was a great game from both teams. Great game from both star players, McKinnon, Kucherov. I know maybe to some hockey fans it's not as sexy as it sounds, but obviously to us, against the other guy who is actively competing against Nikita Kucherov to win the MVP trophy and the Art Ross trophy. This was definitely not only a win for the Lightning, but a win for Nikita Kucherov in that race. I know a lot of writers probably won't take this into account, but it is what it is. McKinnon on the night, he only has 2 assists, so that brings him to 2 points. Where Nikita Kucherov, I've been covering the Lightning for 4 seasons now. This is the best I've ever seen him, and I said it on the crossover that a lot of it has to go. I mean, not only his performance is great, but you could just tell his body's in just better shape than it's ever been. His conditioning is phenomenal, and that just shows you, what this guy can do when he's consistently playing. And I said it as well, and it looks like the Lightning scored another empty netter, so we'll have ourselves a 6-3 win. This one by Nick Perbix. Trade him now while his value is up. But Cooch will finish the night, it looks like, with 2 goals and 3 points with a plus-minus of +4. So a phenomenal night from Cooch. A guy that is playing the best hockey he has played since 2019, in my opinion. I mean, the guy, he's already surpassed 90 points. At this rate, he will probably reach 100 in probably 2 weeks, I would say. If he has a couple of crazy nights, maybe even sooner. But the guy is just a one-man wrecking crew out there. Like I've said before, if you've been a listener to this podcast, you know all the cliches I already have for this guy. And that's not, I say it a lot because it's true. This guy makes everybody on this team better. And I think that's a huge part of the MVP trophy. The last... Maybe, I mean, I don't know how long he's been winning it, but I know every year the conversation has always been, Connor McDavid this, Connor McDavid that for MVP. It seems like every year they just give him the MVP trophy before the season even starts. And, I get the hype, obviously. I watch him quite a bit, and, I mean, he's just otherworldly, but, I said it on the podcast the other night with the guys. We need to get back to the essence of what the Hart Trophy is, and that's the MVP, most valuable player. And that's how you have to evaluate these guys. I mean, I always view it. I mean, everybody has their own way of evaluating people, and I'm sure if I was an Avalanche fan, I would kind of view it the same way. With McKinnon, is where would this team be right now if it wasn't for this person? If he was having an average season by NHL standards, if he was just another average NHL player, if whatever you want to consider that to be, whether it be a 4th line forward or whatever the case may be. I look at it this way. You look at this team, where they started, and I'll make the argument for both players, because I think they're both phenomenal. I mean, Nathan Mackinnon is a phenomenal player. Make no mistake about it. I mean, and I'll start with him. That's probably the best way to go about it. I mean, they're without their longtime captain and Gabriel Landeskog. From my understanding, they've had quite a few injuries here and there throughout the course of the season. And like I said, this guy, just like Kucherov, is a one-man wrecking crew out there. I mean, really, the team, the success does run through him, even though they do have a phenomenal overall talent at the blue line in Cal McCarr, who really could easily make the jump from defenseman to forward if it was absolutely necessary. But that's where I think Kuch has an edge, because McKinnon has McCarr, but who does Kuch have? And I'm not trying to discount any player on this team, but I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. You know, you're talking about two superstars right there. Two guys that, if they stay on their current trajectory, they're both going to be Hall of Famers, 100%. On the other side of that, yeah, we could say Steven Stamkos, absolutely, right now he's playing phenomenal hockey, but remember the beginning of the year when he really wasn't doing much of anything? Who was still pulling the weight? That was Kuch. A lot of times, I'm sure we could look at the some of the goals or even some of the chances that Stamkos has had. I mean, a lot of that pertains or can be attributed to Nikita Kucherov. And I think really that's what it comes down to is, and I said it on a previous show as well, that, he's not just scoring. He's doing pretty much everything this year. He's playing physical. He's getting into the dirty areas in the corners. He's doing a little bit of everything. He's laying hits in the right situations. And on top of that, he's scoring and racking up points like crazy. And that's really what it comes down to. You look at where this Lightning team was, and let's say we just pluck Kuch out of the equation entirely. Let's say we go back to 2020. I believe that was the year when he was hurt for the year and everybody was freaking out. What if he's out for the playoffs? What if he gets hurt before the season starts back in September and he's out for the whole year, or we don't get him until the playoffs start? Where is this Lightning team? Do they even make the playoffs, especially with the start they got? Given where they are right now, if anything, they're ceiling at that point without him, especially with a shaky Vazzy coming into the lineup. Probably we could say that they're on the outside looking in on the playoff race right now. I mean, I don't think they're that far out. I don't think they're in a lottery team, but I think that they're probably a handful of points out of the wild card race. Now that those other teams slow down, but at the same time, I mean, who knows what kind of ground would have been lost, especially to begin the season if you don't have 86 on the ice. So, but I will say, like Kucherov playing very well tonight, McKinnon really not, lighting up the score sheet. That's not going to make any difference. I'm sure some people will bring it up at the end of the year. Well, when these two guys really, when it came down to it, and, you had a phenomenal game against these both teams. Only one really was going nuts out there, putting up video game numbers. Like I said, 2 goals, 3 points, plus minus a +4. He was all over the place tonight. He was creating chances for everybody, as he normally does. And on top of all that, he had 2 hits, which may not seem like a big deal, but it really is when a guy like that is such an offensive weapon. And on the other side of that, has 6 shots. So, yeah, he has his handprints all over this game. Lightning pick up a big one at home. Kuch at least, maybe changes some minds about who's the better player in the league. And hopefully he continues to play like this, which he will. And hopefully he'll be raising the Hart Trophy at the end of the year. So coming up in just a little bit, we'll wrap things up talking about Andrei Vasilevskiy's season thus far. How is he doing? Mostly in 2024. We'll talk about that coming up in just a little bit. But first, I'm going to wrap things up with our friends over at Camino Consulting. How would you like to get to know someone better in an hour? Someone better in an hour than you would in a year. Understanding one another prevents small misunderstandings from becoming big ongoing fights. After providing more than 20 years of service to small and mid-sized businesses, helping management groups navigate conflict and onboarding new employees, Camino is offering a digital seminar for families and couples. Did your Valentine's gift of tickets to the game knock over as well as you'd hoped? Well, get the couples and family online seminar for 20 to 25% off for the month of February using the discount code Locked On. Again, that is the discount code Locked On for 25% off the rest of the month at www.caminoconsulting.ca, or mention Locked On when reaching out for a business seminar and receive the first 5 profiles free. So before we wrap things up, I just want to, once again, as always, because I love you guys, I love you for your enthusiasm, and, just whether it be on Twitter or in the comments, just love hearing from all of you. So wrapping things up with some Andrei Vasilevskiy talk, and I mean, the guy got off to a less than stellar start, let's be honest here, and I was very unenthused with the way he was playing to begin the season. Tonight, and especially in 2024, the guy has really picked it up. I will say that. And I spoke about it at the beginning of the show. I mean, it's not just his numbers. It's really everything. His body language, just even after he gives up goals, even bad ones, it's just also just his confidence. You could just see his swagger is back, or at least it's starting to come back. And that's something that he needs and that this team needs, especially when you don't have Mikhail Sergachev in the lineup, who, like, I can't overstate how big of a loss that is for this team going forward. Through the 14 games in 2024, Vazzy is 10-4. His save percentage is .907, and he's just back. I think that really begs the question: is this Vezina Vazzy? And I will say, and maybe this is a little bit of, well, I won't say it's recency bias. I will say sort of, because when you look at his numbers and you look at, what is considered Vezina Vazzy, or Vezina, try and say that 3 times really fast. I bet you can't. You look at his numbers compared to years past, especially the year he won the Hart, the year he won the Vezina in 18-19, and really all the years where he was able to kind of just play a full season. Like I stated, the league is different than what it was maybe a couple of years ago. I mean, the scoring across the league is just so much better than what it was even 2 years ago. I think, you just look at tonight with the Avalanche. I mean, they have at their best. I mean, you look at up and down the ice, you got Byram, Makar, Taves, McKinnon, Cogliano. You have guys, and this goes for every team. You have about maybe 4, maybe even 5 guys that could score on you on any given night. And that's why, like, the one goalie system to me is, I still think, very important, because, it doesn't, you don't get things back on track just in one night. It's a process that you have to just go through. And that's why I was so pissed to start off. I believe it was right after the All-Star game, where Cooper didn't play Vasilevskiy in back-to-back games against the Rangers and Islanders, which I really think that would have benefited him a lot. But you know what? He's played well since then. I mean, he has given up his fair share of bad goals, but that's just something that he's going to have to just get through during the season, and just have to get through as the games go on. But like I said, since the scoring has gotten so much better, and at some point this year, whether it be the offseason or, maybe later down the line of this season, I will get the stats together where we'll We'll do scoring, in the league versus save percentage by year. And we'll just see how like the numbers are changing over the years. But Vazzy's played very well. 29 games this year. He's 18, 11, and 0. His save percentage is .903. His goals against the average is 2.76. I will say that, adjust it considering how good the scoring is. And I would say this for any goaltender. I think Aiden Hill, the guy for Vegas, I think his goals against average is at like literally at 2. So you adjust that considering how good the scoring is. I would put Hill at like maybe a 190, maybe a little lower. I know that's crazy based off of just, no actual statistical reasoning or rationalism. But on that same breath, when you look at Vazzy, I would have to say, like I said, he's at 2.76. I would say that's just as good as the year he was at 2.21. Granted, he only played 42 games that year. That was 2021. That was the year that they only played 56 games. If you want to go for a fuller season, we could look at his Vezina Trophy year if you really want to do that. But he was at 2.4 for his goals against average that year. So in this league, I would say, especially in today's league, compared to that, to where maybe the scoring wasn't as crazy, I would say that maybe Vazzy's at like a 2.6. I'll say that. I think that's fair. It's not crazy good, but I mean it's nothing compared to a 2.21 or a 2.49. Once you get down to the 2.4s, it's absolutely insanity. And that goes for the shutouts too. He has one this year. His career high in a season is 8. And he didn't even win the Vezina that year, which is wild. He led the league in wins, had the league lead in shutouts, and still didn't win the Vezina that year. Yeah, we're not going to see that many shutouts. I think like the years of goaltenders getting maybe double-digit shutouts, I think that's over and done with, especially now with a lot of teams rolling out that 2-goalie system. But phenomenal year for Vasilevskiy. Is he back? Not yet. We'll revisit this conversation in about a month because, like I've said, he's got not only Vasilevskiy, but this team has a tough road ahead of them in the month of February, and it definitely does not get any better in March. And as always, you can follow along here on the podcast by giving us a follow on our social media pages, LO_Lightning on Twitter, Locked_Lightning on Instagram. Give me a follow at DankyDank, DENKYD8NK on Twitter. I love hearing from all of you. If you want to tweet to me or if you want to message me on the side, that's fine. I mean, just whether you want to talk hockey or you have a question, perfectly fine by me. Or if you want to throw a question for the show, do that as well. If you don't have Twitter and you just still want to get a question in, drop a comment below this video on YouTube and I will answer it on the next episode. So, yeah, I mean, we got another big game this coming up this weekend against the Florida Panthers. We'll talk about that coming up soon. We're going to try and get an episode out tomorrow. So keep an eye out for that. I mean, an episode later today because I'm recording this Thursday night, so it will be dropping Friday morning. So I might try to get another episode out just for Friday so we could, have all our bases covered going into the weekend. So in the meantime, that's been it for this episode of Locked On Lightning, part of Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Adam Danker. I'll talk to you in the next one.